So Katie Halper is at it again. Katie Halper is literally platforming a Zionist settler who has the blood of Palestinians on his hands. Again, this settler has been platformed by Mint Press, the Electronic Intifada, Democracy Now!, and Mondaweiss. And Peled even has a podcast, and Peled opposes extraditing Zionist settlers. He opposes arresting and extraditing Zionist settlers. Who want to know why? Because he is a settler. So while Trump threatens to steal Gaza, and many of my relatives who were displaced from Yibna now live in Gaza, what does Katie Halper do? In true Katie Halper grifter fashion, Katie Halper literally platforms a man who has Palestinian blood on his hands as a literal Zionist settler. So this is what I was talking about. I have some family from, this is one of the towns my family's from, Yibna. This town was ethnically cleansed during the Nakba. And many of the people that are from this town now live in Gaza. Like Abdelaziz al-Rantisi, who was one of the founders of Hamas. He's from one of the towns I have family from. And again, the town Yibna was ethnically cleansed. I also have family in Ramla. We're going to do a whole video on Al-Ramla. Who else? Muhammad Yusuf al-Najjar, who I am somehow related to, was from Yibna. Okay. So many people that have been displaced from Yibna are now living in Gaza. Again, Musa Abu Marzouk. Again, from Yibna, but he was born in Rafah. Okay. So you can see that this town, Yibna, where one branch of my family is from, was ethnically cleansed. And the people now of Yibna now live in Gaza. Okay. And this is we'll do a whole video on Al-Ramla. Actually, we'll go. So I also have a lot of family from Alid, which still has, again, it's 30% of Alid is Palestinian, still has the original some original indigenous Palestinian people in it. And I have family in Al-Ramla, which is only 24% Palestinian, and a lot of the Zionist settlers are from Pakistan, aka Tajikistan. So most Jews from Karachi, Pakistan have migrated have settled in Palestine, and now they're settlers in Al-Ramla. So, again, when the losers of JVP talk about Jews of colors, no, people of color can be settlers as well, right? And this is one example of it. The Pajits, the Jewish Pajits from Karachi. But here's who this guy Miko Peled is. And here's what makes him an inappropriate person to talk about Gaza. This man is a literal Zionist settler. He was born in Qudus in 1961. His grandpa is literally responsible for the Nakba. Miko Peled's responsible for the Nakba as well. But again, Peled's grandpa literally signed the Zionist entity's declaration of genocide and settler colonialism. His dad, Matityahu Peled, is also responsible for the Nakba, right? And literally participated in the Nakba. Peled also participated in the continuation of the Nakba. Again, Susan Abu Hawa, she is a grifter, she is a sellout. What city is her family from again? Oh, they're from Atur and Qudus. So again, don't trust to... So here's the thing. Peled was involved in the Zionist entity Special Forces, and then he became a medic. So again, Peled has Palestinian blood on his hands. Anyone who participates in the IOF has Palestinian blood on their hands. And he was also involved with Peace Now, which is a Zionist organization. And again, his niece was a settler, and so she was not supposed to be in Palestinian land. She was supposed to be somewhere in Europe. So that's why, a martyr had to do what he had to do, right? But the fact that Peled supports one state with equal rights, again, Peled supports settler colonialism. Peled supports settler colonialism. Peled opposes arresting and extraditing Zionist settlers. Again, Peled is a liberal Zionist. And yeah, Peled's a Zionist. Peled has Palestinian blood on his hands. Peled, again, his entire family has Palestinian blood on their hands. So, I mean, it's totally inappropriate that Katie Halper is promoting Miko Peled. And we're going to go to that Ebb magazine, because we're going to talk about the one state with equal rights and why that's, again, the Zionist version of all lives matter. As we see, settler colonialism secures the position of the settler, imbuing them with rights, in this case of divine conquest. As such, Zionism ensures that settlers' rights supersede those of indigenous people at their largest expense. Knowing this, the liberal slogan, equal rights for all people, requires deeper consideration. Rather than placing the emphasis on the deconstruction of the settler state and violence inherent to it, which eternally serves the settler to the direct detriment of indigenous communities, the slogan suggests that Palestinians simply need to secure more rights within the violent system. But equal rights in that sense, that those chanting this phrase mean them, will not come from attempts to rehabilitate a settler state. Miko Peled wants to rehabilitate the settler state. Miko Peled and his entire family have Palestinian blood on their hands, and Miko Peled needs to go to prison, quite frankly. And he needs to do life in prison. Without further discussion, the slogan simply serves as another mechanism of Zionism, one that maintains the rights of the settler rather than emphasizing the need to restore rights to indigenous communities who have long been victims of settler rights. Anti-Zionists cannot both denounce settler colonialism and Zionism and center advocacy on the claim that settlers should have equal immutable rights. Zionists would have you believe that their state has always existed, that settlers have always lived on the land. But a brief reference to history reminds us that anti-Zionism must confront the ongoing mechanisms materially advancing the development of colonies in Palestine. Again, has Miko Peled ever renounced his Zionist citizenship? Not that I know of. Miko Peled is a settler. So there is no moral legitimacy in the suggestion that these settlers have the right to live on stolen Palestinian land, the theft maintained by force as long as there has been no restoration of Palestinian rights. No theories of justice exist in the mainstream ethical or philosophical discourse that advocate for a person who has stolen something to rightfully keep what they've taken. The act of theft, by definition, violates the basic principles of justice, which emphasize fairness, equitable distribution of resources, and respect for individual rights and property. Guys, Miko Peled is a settler. Peled is a settler, right? Katie Halper is a liberal Zionist, right? Cities such as Tel Aviv and Modin are settlements, just like Itamar and Tel Rumeida in the West Bank. Decolonization does not imply the displacement of Jewish communities in Palestine. However, it is crucial to recognize that not every individual identifying as Jewish is indigenous to Palestine. This basic framework must be unabashedly articulated by anti-Zionist organizations and their advocacy. Anti-Zionist organizing should move towards the dismantling of colonial structures through the changing of laws and policies of the institutions and formations most essential to the Zionist state project. An organization's commitment to solidarity and conceptualization of resistance should be transparent. Its ideals should be clear to potential newcomers as well as its donors. We have seen too many times organizations intentionally obfuscate what they stand for, so they relate to a broad mass of people while at the same time being more palatable to liberal donors. They use vague language about the future they envision, describing equality and justice and a thriving future for all Palestinians and Zionist settlers, without a thoughtful discussion of what Palestinians will need to reach this prosperity. The dual discourse phenomenon, where contradictory messages are conveyed to grassroots supporters and financial donors, is a manipulative tactic for institutional and personal gain. It should be clear that from the onset that a group's efforts have one ultimate goal. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Anti-Zionism and anti-solidarity should be bold. Palestinians deserve nothing less. Again, where's that about? Again, Miko Peled is a Zionist. He is a liberal Zionist. So look, he says, for the good of both nations. So he's playing both sides. For the good of both nations. The walls must come down. The Zionist control over the lives of Palestinians must be defied so that a secular democracy, where all Zionist settlers and Palestinians live as equals, can be established in our shared homeland. So again, just really Zionist, settler, colonial words right there. I mean, this is the epitome of liberal Zionist, settler colonialism. When this man's entire family was involved, he and his entire family, this man, Miko Peled, his dad, Matityahu Peled, and his grandpa, Abraham Katznelson, were all literally involved in the Nakba. So I'm a Palestinian, right? My mom's side is Palestinian. My entire maternal lineage, haplogroup L, is Palestinian. I have a lot of family in Al-Lid and Al-Ramla. I have family that was displaced from Yibna and now lives in Gaza. So the fact that liberal Zionist Katie Halper, the fact that liberal Zionist Katie Halper, and I'm going to respond to Ladislas Durand, I'm actually Palestinian. The fact that Katie Halper is, and I'll even show you that I'm Palestinian. What does this say right here? Druze from Palestine, Christian Arabs from Palestine, from Al-Lid, right? So the fact that, I'll show you, I was doing a little admixture work. I'll show you my maternal haplogroup is literally a Palestinian haplogroup. See? Palestinian. Like, my maternal lineage is Palestinian. And Miko Peled has Palestinian blood on his hands, right? Palestinian Druze from Daliat al-Carmel, Palestinian Arab Christians from Al-Lid and Al-Ramla. So again, I know what I'm descended from. Miko Peled is a Zionist. Miko Peled has Palestinian blood on his hands and is one of the least qualified people to talk about Gaza, because his family is the reason why many of my cousins are in Gaza. Because Yibna was ethnically cleansed. Because part of Al-Lid was ethnically cleansed. Because part of Al-Ramla was ethnically cleansed during the Nakba. Miko Peled is literally a liberal Zionist, and he's one of the least qualified people to speak on Palestine, because he has Palestinian blood on his hands and his entire family was involved in the Nakba. So there you go. And shame on Katie Halper, because she is a liberal Zionist.